Yeah, okay, I guess green light is a little bit creepy. The Doctor's Wife. So, I've been looking forward to this one. This was a big deal when it came out because, of course, it's written by Neil Gaiman, who, it's Neil freaking Gaiman. Wrote an episode of Doctor Who. So, it was definitely a big deal at the time, and that immediately gave it a very, very just high level of anticipation, and it met it. It really did. I enjoy the heck out of this. I like that it is self-contained, but I think you would be hard-pressed to call it filler. It feels too significant. It feels too insightful to, I think, be classified as filler. So this has the Doctor and Amy and Rory, first of all, getting summoned by the little box, which is just great. That's a cool way to start. And they end up on a sentient trash ball. Michael Sheen does amazing work voicing House. That's terrific. I love the whole idea that it's this consciousness that is, just holding this little asteroid-y thing together, and he's, got patchwork people who serve him. And Idris, who the consciousness of the TARDIS gets poured into. It's funny, she also... It's funny, she also appeared on the Sarah Jane Adventures, but I didn't much care for her in that. I think it just goes to show you what a decent script and a strong directing hand will get you out of an actor in different circumstances. But she's really good, and I like the way it's played. It actually, funnily enough, it didn't occur to me before, but she behaves not vastly dissimilar from Delirium from Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic books. Although I would say slightly more coherent, or at least there's a reason for why she's a bit out of sorts. A, her consciousness isn't supposed to be in a body like that, and B, she's doesn't experience time in the same manner. So, she has the end of conversations early a few times, and she has clearly had experiences that the Doctor hasn't yet, which even throws the Doctor off, which is kind of cool. Speaking of the Doctor, Matt Smith does fantastic work here. He really gets to do a lot and explore a lot of different facets of the Doctor here. Being light and bubbly and excited at the possibility of finding other Time Lords, and but also kind of melancholy about that because of why they're not around anymore. And actually, side note, I really like that Amy has her line, but you told me what happened to your people and you told me what you did, which was a conversation we have not seen happen, but I like that they cover that to establish that the Doctor, who had been very slow to dole out that information in either the 9th or 10th incarnations, but here he's much more open about that, and I kind of like that gets established, especially with Amy. But he's still carrying the guilt, because it's great in that line where Amy says, "You want to be forgiven," and he's, "Don't we all?" Oh boy. That one hits home. But he gets to explore so much. He gets to do that anger, being flustered and just overwhelmed. The excitement and his eagerness at the idea of building a TARDIS console, his being flirty with Idris and with the TARDIS inside her, gets to do so much, so many facets that he's just ping-ponging around all these different aspects of this version of the Doctor, but it doesn't feel like whiplash. He just does it. He does these hard jumps, and yet at the same time, it's oddly seamless. It's really weird, but man, is it fun to watch. And just the lines that Idris gets are so much fun. I like biting. It's kissing, except there's a winner. That's fantastic and amazing, and there's a lot of good lines. And also, I kind of like what gets done with Amy and Rory in this for multiple reasons. I like that the Doctor lies to them to get them back into the TARDIS where he thinks they'll be safe. Because, the Doctor lies isn't necessarily a thing that applies to all incarnations of the Doctor, but it absolutely applies to this incarnation of the Doctor. And I kind of like that gets reiterated a few times before it becomes super relevant to some later plots and stories. I think it's good to see it so seamlessly integrated into a story like this. And of course, well-meaning, he wants them gone for their own safety, but he also knows Amy, and she won't go if he just asks. So that works really well. And as far as Amy and Rory goes, their chemistry together is still terrific. Normally at this point I'd be calling out, and they fake killed Rory again. Except that this time it's much more about what Amy sees, or what she thinks she sees happening to him, and the guilt she feels about that. So yeah, Rory dies, but it's not about, oh my god, Rory dies. It's oh my god, when he's the old man and he's so angry. It's like, you did it to me again. You left me again. And she is so sad, and it gets behind those doors again. And also, it doesn't string it along like, oh, he's really dead. It doesn't even really play it like we're ever expected to believe that. We're here to see Amy get put through the ringer, and that is played very, very well. Like I said, Michael Sheen does a stunningly great job making an intimidating, fun villain out of just a voice and a green light. That is all there is to House. There is nothing more of substance going on with him than a voice and green lighting. Yet he feels like a real presence. He feels like a real tangible presence. Actually, overall, it's surprisingly kind of low tech and low key this episode. There's still stuff that went into it. They built sets. There is some cool special effects, especially with the TARDIS console room in isolation chasing after the TARDIS. There's some cool effects there, but by and large, it's not a particularly showy episode. It's TARDIS corridors. It's a junkyard. The villain is just a green light. It feels more low tech, yet it all plays because it doesn't feel like it's confined by a lack of budget, yet at the same time, it's not just throwing money at it, throwing money up on the screen. There's something kind of oddly appealing to me about this thing, basically trusting in the strength of the script and the story and the performances, and not needing to get flashy or have House designed actually as a monster, or we ever see what he really looks like, whatever that even would mean for him. I like that. I am always impressed by this episode on every level. It's fun. It's touching. It's insightful to the characters. It's got funny, great lines. It has sweet moments. It has intense moments. It just goes through all this stuff so seamlessly from a writing perspective, but then it's also really well shot. And everything looks great, and it's moody and it's atmospheric. It's really fun seeing the previous TARDIS console get brought back just for a little bit, just for this one. So basically, console room cameo, which is cool, and I enjoy that. It's not important, but I do kind of like that the Doctor acknowledges, that's another Ood I couldn't save, even though, he was never going to save Nephew. Nephew was completely under the control of House. He was an arm of this entity, so, I'm not sure there was anything left to save. He'd probably been emptied out, much like Idris had, but at the same time, I like that little acknowledgement. The Doctor has a really bad track record in helping the Ood, and just a little acknowledgement of that, kind of nice. There's so many little touches, so many little things, and it all contained in this fun, bouncy episode that is like that when it wants to be, but then it can slow down and be moody and brooding and, look at the emotional consequences of things going on to the characters. This is such a jumble of tones and feels and so many things going on that it shouldn't work. This should be a patchwork mess, much like the people living on House are, but it's not. I'm not entirely sure how it's not, But I really like this one. The Doctor's Wife. You rewatched it lately? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Other stuff down there as well, such as the link to my Patreon. That would be super helpful and much appreciated. Failing that, or even if you do that, you can also like, subscribe, share this video. That helps me out as well. Other links down there besides, click on stuff. It'll take you places, or don't. You don't have to, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings. So until next time, this council is adjourned.